fucking dipshit motherfucker. Fuck you, that's why. Cause fuck you, that's why. Cause helmets suck, that's why. And comments like you swallow, that's why. Fuck Pete Wilson, that's why. Fuck Dick Floyd, that's why. Motherfucker.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the Liberty Bowl. It is, of course, live stream Friday. I am streaming on this. Yeah, let's see if that works. I'm streaming on this RTMP, whatchamacallit thing. This fucking thing, the OBS recorder. So anyway, I'm using a different format tonight because, of course, Rumble has had it for a little while. They've had the the direct RTMP streaming thing. I've just never used it. So I actually don't even know how I'd be able to, or if I'm even able to do it with somebody else, joining me on the stream. So it says Liberty Swine. So I really don't know about that. Of course, Liberty Swine is not going to be here tonight. He is, I believe he said, out on the road. Out there enjoying Arizona. But either way, we're going to be talking a little bit about the news because I ain't been paying that much attention, you guys. I've been kind of busy working. It's too damn fucking hot. A lot of the stuff going on I don't really care so much about, too much anymore, but there has been some good stuff going on. I've really just been kind of becoming one of the plebs again, I suppose, so to speak. I've been paying attention to the top headlines and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, like my family's expanding, growing, things like that. Work, all that stuff. It's hot as balls out here in Arizona at this current, time frame, and I just been out of it, man. But either way, we're going to be talking about, of course, the big news tonight. John Bolton got raided by the FBI, eerily reminiscent of Mar-a-Lago, with circumstances much more reminiscent of Joe Biden and his withholding of classified documents for monetary gain through book deals and things like that. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the over $500 million fine, or I don't know, I guess fine to the city of New York to for Donald Trump's supposed fraud scheme related to his real estate, things like that. So that got tossed out basically in appeals court. Still could go through the appeals court process, but we'll be talking a little about that a little bit later. Trump met with Putin on Monday, and of course that rocked the world. I mean, he's really standing by what he says. He's working on negotiating peace. That seems to kind of be his thing. He doesn't want war. He doesn't want to go out there and be tough to the rest of the world and things like that. He wants peace, and he wants what's basically going to provide the greatest peace for the greatest amount of people. And then Cracker Barrels went ahead and gone the old Bud Light route. I don't know what they were thinking, but we'll be talking about them. Apparently they're in the news this week, which really does kind of let you know that it's a little bit of a slow news week. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started with John Bolton. Oh, see that? So, like I said, I'm working with this new, I've used OBS before in the past. I used to use it to record my, just one-off videos, things like that. I haven't been using it in quite some time now, just because all I've been doing is live streaming. So, it's been quite a little while since I've actually used it, but nonetheless, it's pretty cool stuff. I could go through stuff like this. I don't really have too many scenes set up on it yet. I might set up some more, just for every now and then when I want to just go live directly by myself or something like that. You can do that. You just use that to switch back and forth. Good times. And let's go ahead and talk about John Bolton. See, the Babylon Bee says John Bolton eludes FBI by blending into a herd of walruses. Right, with that big old stash, man. What the fuck's up with that big old stash? I don't like that type of stash. It's I don't know. I don't know what it is about John Bolton's stash. I mean, he's got almost like kind of like the old cowboy stash. I've actually seen my grandpa rock that stash for a number of years. So I mean, it's I don't know. It's just the old white man stash. But nonetheless, John Bolton is a slimy snake, and he's very much proven his his metal over here. So basically, John Bolton in his book. Let me go ahead and switch scenes real quick. So John Bolton in his book that was released. Fuck, I forget when it was released, but either way, the Trump administration was basically urging him not to release it because, of course, it did feature things that were classified. Apparently, he had submitted it to the proper authorities to go ahead and get it verified to make sure that certain things that were classified were not included in there. He apparently, I guess, went and took those out, but then he was continuing to do rewrites, revisions, things like that. So he did take some things out, but then he also did add some other things in, which does I guess include some things that were considered classified. So therefore, John Bolton has been busted for essentially leaking classified information in a sense, as well as mishandling these classified documents for, of course, monetary gain, because of course he did get a $2 million deal for this book, right? So that's a little bit of the backstory. Again, like I said, I'm not too well versed in it. I haven't been reading through the articles as well as I should. Maybe I'll get back into more of that later. I've just been really like I say, focusing on life, work, Jesus, spirituality, things like that. So yeah, I haven't been really digging too much into it, but for the most part, that seems about the gist of it. But again, it is very, very reminiscent of course, the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. Remember when that happened? The big thing was like, holy shit, this is actually happening. It's actually happening. They're fucking raiding Donald Trump's home right now. Like that's actually a thing that is occurring in the world that we live in today. And it seems as though that is basically what has taken place again, except now the roles are reversed, right? So of course, this is what we've been waiting for. This is Donald Trump's retribution, right? Again, I wasn't too up to date with the first Trump administration. I did spend the majority of that time in prison, so I wasn't too up to date on the news and whatnot. Of course, at that time in my life, I wasn't really paying attention to much of anything. So either way, I don't necessarily know the full-on backstory between Donald Trump and John Bolton. I just know that John Bolton essentially betrayed Donald Trump almost immediately as soon as Donald Trump got out of office, right? So yeah, of course, John Bolton is well known to be a warmonger, and yeah. So either way, let's go ahead and check out some of the memes and whatnot going on here with John Bolton getting raided, right? Patiently waiting for John Bolton's arrest photos from 6 a.m. this morning, right? So yeah, that again, like I said, it'd be nice to see some FBI arrests. Some of these, like I said, if a couple of heads roll, the rest of the sheep are going to fall in line. If a couple of people end up getting arrested, if a couple of people end up facing accountability in some sort of way, this is going to basically drastically change the way that our politics are done in multiple aspects, right? So of course it can have the lingering effect of basically making it to where that this is the new norm, that it's just political lawfare through and through, and whichever party ends up getting into office, they're just going to legally go after their political opponent again and again and again. It really is going to give a lot more power to the judicial branch, but nonetheless, it could lead to that. But then again, it could also lead to, again, if there's some sort of accountability, people are going to be forced to keep their noses clean, like with everything that's within them. Of course, oh yeah, that's another thing, the federalization of DC. We'll talk a little bit about that today. All right. So of course, let's see the constitutional. Let's see the constitutional something conservative. A week of no DC murders. All right, that's another big thing. No DC murders. John Bolton's house was raided. Canada removes retaliatory tariffs. Stock market hit another record high, and the Democrats, of course, are losing their minds because these things are all terrible for them. Right? What's good for them is not necessarily what's good for the rest of the country. It's not necessarily what's good for you or any other people that they even purport to be on the side of and to be fighting for. Ultimately, they don't fight for those people. They've just pandered to them for generation after generation now. I mean, the black community is case in point. Ever since the civil rights movement took place, the black community has been pushed down and down and down and down. Right? I mean, you see those old timey cartoons and stuff like that. Black people actually had community, during the Jim Crow days and things like that. Black people actually had community, just because, of course, they were going through things that were adverse to, comfort and things like that. They weren't necessarily at the upper echelons of society. And of course, there were things in line that did kind of keep that perpetuated for a little while, right? Not to say that, no black person was ever able to be anything before, the civil rights era in the United States, because that's absolutely not true. There was actually black landowners that were originally allowed to vote right after the George Washington, the Revolutionary days, all the way up until Andrew Jackson, who went ahead and changed democracy from basically only landowners are allowed to vote to basically all white men are allowed to vote, which of course excluded the black landowners, which of course there were way back even at the founding of the United States, right? So again, but either way, let's go ahead and check out some more of this stuff on John Bolton. But consequences. Motherfuckers need consequences. All right, so John Bolton was really enthusiastic about the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. No one is above the law. I wonder if he feels the same way about today's FBI raid on his house. So apparently this is a clip of John Bolton from of course, as I was talking about earlier, the infamous Mar-a-Lago raid. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
There's a couple of different ways that people think about this, and people who are not friendly to the president who think about what's happened here. And one of them is, Donald Trump, master thief, criminal, running some kind of elaborate conspiracy to bring things out of the White House and keep them secret for potentially for political or financial gain. There are other people who attitude is Trump is chaotic. He's careless. He's not that smart. He took these things almost by mistake, and now he's basically stamping his feet and saying they're mine. I don't want to give them up. Give me a sense of where you think the truth lies with respect to Trump's intelligence, carelessness, and the degree to which he might have brought motive to bear on taking these documents out of the White House and keeping them for this long at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, it's very hard to speculate on motive other than that he liked cool things. He saw things so he wanted to take them, and he was pretty much able to take them, and not just on classified information matters, on all kinds of things that crossed his desk. Some days he liked to eat a lot of French fries. Some days he took classified documents. He wanted them. Why did he want them? Because he could get them.
Right, I wonder how much fucking French fries this motherfucker's had in his greasy mustache, right? So the one thing that I do want to point out there is Donald Trump did have all the right to go ahead and take those, right? Because, of course, as president of the United States, Donald Trump has absolute, ability to declassify documents. That's basically done at his discretion as a commander-in-chief. So therefore, Donald Trump did have the right to go ahead and take these documents, which he did. Of course, I don't know. It's speculated that he took them because they basically were the Crossfire Hurricane documents, which are have now been basically released. It's basically showing that they did go after Donald Trump in the Russia hoax. That was a real thing. We talked about that in previous episodes, but ultimately Yeah, Donald Trump did have the right to go ahead and remove these documents, as seeing as he is the sole person that has the, again, unilateral authority to go ahead and declassify documents. John Bolton, on the other hand, does not. He had a security clearance, right? Again, unelected bureaucrat compared to elected president. The only actual person that is voted on by the entire populace of the country versus an unelected bureaucrat, right? A warmongering bureaucrat. So again, it's similar, like I said, it does have the same undertones, but of course there's a difference in the fact that there is an air of truth to this one. There, as opposed to Donald Trump with the Mar-a-Lago raid, which was basically, as everybody knows, politically driven. And as we're going to see a little bit later, a lot of these things that were politically driven, that they used to go after Donald Trump to try and make sure that he couldn't run in the 2024 election, which, of course, again, the dude, you got to tip your hat off to the guy, whether you agree with everything that he's doing right now or you don't, which, again, I'm sure not all of us agree with everything he's doing, me, being one of them. But nonetheless, you have to give it to the guy. They literally threw everything in the kitchen sink at him, right? What was that Chuck Schumer line? The intelligence community has 9 ways from Sunday to getting back at you. Well, they tried every single nine of those ways, and Donald Trump skirted every last one of them. And now we're seeing all of these cases are falling through in appeals, which we all predicted were going to take place because of the fact that these were basically just for show. These were for the headlines. These were for the news because, of course, it was election season. So that's why they needed to do all this stuff, right? So again, Donald Trump had all the right to, remove these documents, as opposed to somebody like John Bolton. So yeah, again, we're seeing justice being basically finally served here, as opposed to, partisan, political witch hunts, basically. So that's the real difference here. But they do have similar undertones. Really, it's kind of like Donald Trump's just, you pick the fucking rope that you want to hang yourself with, right? And that's basically what they did. All of this stuff that Donald Trump is doing, or Donald Trump's DOJ is doing right now, is basically a mirror of what the Democrats did during this last, fucking going on 12 years now. It's been quite some time, that they've been attacking Donald Trump. So, yeah, again, Donald Trump is basically just, pick your poison. How do you want to go out? Do you want me to hang you here? Do you want me to fucking electrocute you in the chair there? Do you want me to throw you in the gas chamber there? Everything that they threw at Donald Trump is now basically turning around and throwing onto them, right? They went after Donald Trump for, the classified documents. He's going to go after you for your mishandling of classified documents. Oh, Letitia James, you're going to go after him for supposedly, defrauding on his on his loans, right? Well, we're going to go ahead and get you for the exact same thing, which you were doing while you were prosecuting Donald Trump for the exact same thing that you were actively doing at that moment, egregiously. Again, the difference here is they look the same. Donald Trump was, innocent, and this was a witch hunt. These people are actual scumbags, the scum of the earth, the so-called swamp that we've elected Donald Trump to drain, and these people are finally facing justice. So again, witch hunt, justice, right? Everything that they tried to go after Donald Trump with, he is now basically turning around and he's using the exact same laws, methods, and tactics on them, right? So again, there's good stuff going on, but let's go ahead and get through a little bit more of this. Let's see. Sassafras 84. No DMs unless asked you or requested. My pronouns are FAFO. Okay, so she's one of us. All right, we're good. Crazy that John Bolton was raided at 7 a.m. and tweeting at 7:30. Guess his staffer didn't get the memo. I wonder just how many people have staffers that write their tweets. Right, that's pretty interesting. I didn't notice that. Let's go ahead and see what old Johnny Bolton has to say, right? The warmonger who is, of course, basically adverse to anything related to peace, which, of course, is Donald Trump's agenda. Yeah, John Bolton and the deep state machine is absolutely against. So let's see. John Bolton says, Russia has not changed its goal. Drag Ukraine into a new Russian empire. Moscow has demanded that Ukraine cede territory it already holds and the remainder of the Donetsk, which it has been unable to conquer. Zelensky will never do so. Meanwhile, meetings will continue because Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't see these talks making any progress. If anybody in the world deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, it's Donald Trump, right? So again, you don't see these things making any progress because the thing that you are progressing toward is more war, right? That is your end goal, right? That's your end goal. That's why you guys are over here talking about, oh, Ukraine should not rest. We should not stop funding Ukraine until they win. But yet you will never, ever define what winning is, right? Oh, pushing them all the way out of Ukraine? Are you talking about taking back Crimea that was lost in 2014? Like, no, what define what you mean by win? Doesn't matter. We're just gonna keep on throwing money at it until we win. Until we beat Putin. Like, what does that even mean, right? Get them out of these cities, the Donetsk and the Luhansk. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing them correctly, but either way, get them out of Crimea. Again, these are territories that have basically been established, right? I believe the two previous ones, the Donetsk and Luhansk, have actually had referendums to actually become Russian territory, but of course they can't have that. So of course, as we know, elections don't really mean much in the old Ukraine. Of course, they have suspended those now because it's counterproductive to their agenda of dictatorship. But nonetheless, I digress. This is let's get back to old Johnny Bolton here. So, Officer Lou, who is you? In real-time news, politics, crime, intel, analysis, subscribe for $2. That's good stuff. Roger Stone had some words for John Bolton this morning. He says, good morning, John Bolton. How does it feel to have your home raided at 6 o'clock in the morning? Interesting. Redhead Libertarian. Feds, knock knock. John Bolton, who's there? Feds, war with Iran. John Bolton comes bursting through the door. Feds, just kidding. John Bolton, big red mad.
The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president. So is this picking up where that left off, David?
It's possible. I don't know with 100% certainty, but it is notable, guys, that John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton's security clearances were stripped earlier this year by President Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, took that security clearance away. They had concerns. The administration had concerns about Ambassador Bolton still being able to access some of these documents and have some of those security clearances. It's also notable that John Bolton had a security detail as well. Because of the threats from Iran on his life, that security detail, that government federal paid security detail, was also taken away by President Trump.
The probe dropped when Joe Biden became president.
All right, so one thing that I do want to point out, too, is, of course, Donald Trump, yes, they did have his security clearance stripped, which, of course, we did see take place for several other people, Joe Biden being included, I believe. I believe that he didn't have his Secret Service taken away, of course. That's an impossibility, but nonetheless, I do believe that he had his security clearance removed. I'm not sure. I could be incorrect, but I do know that Donald Trump has had several people's security clearance removed, which, of course, just shows you that Donald Trump, he's being smart about everything, right? He's playing chess. And that's one thing that I've been kind of pointing out, is we have to kind of read between the lines, right? When it comes to the whole Epstein thing, I think that was a strategic fumble, basically, right? He basically destroy everybody's expectations, right? Everybody thinks that we're going to release Epstein files and all this and that type stuff. Like we're just going to go ahead and nip that in the bud right now. We're going to crush all of your dreams about that. Again, a lot of us are still rather, rightly upset about that whole situation, but nonetheless, I think that it's simmering down enough to where he's trying to cool it down so that way he doesn't lose a lot in the midterms, right? He's basically trying to get a lot of the disappointments out at the beginning, so that way he can come in strong, right? You fuck up the Epstein files, you negotiate peace with fucking Putin and Ukraine. right? Or you fucking fumble the Epstein files, and then you go start locking up people like John Bolton, and then apparently too. I mean, like I say, his moves aren't that overt or that covert in terms of the stuff on the domestic front. Again, like I said, he's basically just mirroring all the same stuff you guys did before. So basically, he's pulling your clearance. That should let you know that you were probably on watch. That you were at minimum that you were on watch. So you should probably act accordingly. All right. Yeah, and so we're starting to see a lot of these people. We're starting to see, the James Comey's, Brennan's. We're starting to see, Clapper. We're starting to see, a lot of these, deep state names that were instrumental in basically all of this political lawfare against Donald Trump. By basically, it essentially equates to a coup. Basically, they were trying to overthrow the democratic processes of the United States, right? They're trying to basically make it to where they can tell us who we can and can't vote for, right? The government machine is basically trying to tell us who we can and can't vote for. And I think that that's ultimately become something that's kind of like a feature, not necessarily a flaw. I think that the government has become a machine rather than basically somebody, steering the wheel. Because of course that's what all these presidents do. And that's basically what their job is as president, is to try and leave behind a legacy. Right. And so the way that they leave these legacies is they automate something, they make something that's, it's going to start, flying the ship on its own now, or they fucking they streamline this, or they do this, they do that, and they basically just keep adding and adding and adding and adding to where it doesn't matter if fucking the greatest president that ever lived comes into the presidency. There's so many things that are still running that were implemented in the past and just have been left on the back burner and are just cooking and boiling over, and just like I say, just different parts to the machine. We don't even know what the fuck they actually do anymore, but somehow they're still affecting the machine in one way or another. I think that ultimately that's, like I say, I think it's a feature, not necessarily a flaw. I think that they designed the government like this to on purpose, so that way it's going to continue. So that way these people could have a legacy, and of course this ultimately leads to further powering the government in order to start making its own decisions based off of what it sees as necessity, in order to continue and actually further increase its power over the people. Right. And so I think that basically this is the culmination of it. And I think that this is basically us coming to realize a lot of what's going on here. Right. But yeah, I think that's what's really taking place here. But it's good to see. It's good to see. It all makes sense. I regard him as a consistent ally, John Bolton wrote of Mike Pence during the first Trump administration. All right. So, of course, again, these guys look like two peas in a pod, birds of a feather, same buzzard. Bad Hombre says, makes sense why John Bolton was panicking over Kash Patel's nomination. Let's see. There's a whole lot of words to read. I don't feel like reading all those, but either way, John Bolton peddled. Let's look at him with this funny fucking war mustache, right? John Bolton peddled the weapons of mass destruction lie that led to the Iraq war, causing 200,000 Iraqi civilian deaths. So whatever the FBI found in his house today, I hope it jails him for life. All right, odds are it won't, but at the same time, odds are life for him is a 10-year. 15-year sentence. So I mean, if he really ends up getting any sort of time in jail, I mean, that would be vindication enough. Like I say, strip these people, right? Make examples of several of these people. Again, strike down a couple of them, all of the other people are going to fall into line, right? And basically, even if it does end up becoming more and more just like, oh, these people are going to come in and prosecute these people are going to come in and prosecute these people. Again, if it's just, the people at the top, fucking chopping each other's heads off and shit like that, it's going to make for, you got to be real fucking clean to get into politics. Not like the way that it used to be nowadays, you got to be real clean to get into politics, because they're going to, probe you with everything that they got, and they're going to try and lock you up and put you in jail no matter what. Right. And so I think that we need to, prepare for that. Let's go ahead and see. Comey is actually trending right now. Check that out real quick. So let's see. Guru Graphics, Ben Garrison. Dear FBI, please do James Comey next. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, yeah. Yep. So you never know. We might see it. Like I say, I think people like Joe Biden, a lot of these people up at the top, Barack Obama, I think a lot of these people are going to be insulated by the president working under their official duties, whole thing. I think they're going to be shielded by a lot of that. So I don't think he's actually going for that. I think he's going for basically the machine state. I think he's going for the bureaucratic deep state that, again, is basically the people that are the ones that implement these totalitarian things, because their ultimate goal is furthering the power granted to government. Let's go ahead and see what old James Comey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my Substack. Last week's cold turns out to have been COVID, quite a flashback. And Donald Trump is still president and still humiliating America on a national stage, standing next to Vladimir Putin. It's like a dream, a bad dream you can't wake up from. But I don't want to talk about that bad dream this week. I want to talk about a truly inspirational public figure named Taylor Swift. Of course I watched.
Yeah, I forgot all about this video. This shit's fucking great. Fucking Taylor Swift. Oh, of course James Comey's a fucking Swiftie. Right? He's a motherfucking Swiftie, and of course he's going to be bitching about, the fact that Donald Trump is over there trying to negotiate peace with one of the fucking leaders of the superpower in this globe that's currently at war with another country that, as I mentioned earlier, where our strategy is throw dollars until we achieve victory. Don't ask me what victory looks like. If you want to ask what victory looks like, that just means that you're a Nazi, right? But either way, let's go ahead and check this out. But yeah, this shit's fucking hilarious. I forgot he's a Tay-Tay fan, right? And his picture, when I first heard it, it reminded me of remember in Tropic Thunder, fucking Tom Cruise's character when he's all dancing to the apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. That whole scene. That's what it reminded me of right there. I'm sure he's over there, except not necessarily as cool, obviously, because this is the fucking Taylor Swift. But either way, let's listen to a little bit of this and we'll move on.
Watched her podcast interview with the Kelsey brothers. Of course, I watched the whole thing, although on YouTube, Patrice and I got kicked off for the last 15 minutes and finished it on her phone. But I watched it. You see, Taylor Swift and I go way back. I went to my first concert of hers 15 years ago. I've been to a second, and I have helped financially support the attendance of a lot of family members at others. I'm in a family's Swiftie group chat. I know all her music, and I listen to it in my headphones when I cut the grass.
Of course you are.
So yes, I have a favorite of hers, although honestly for me it's a tie between All Too Well, 10-minute version, and Exile featuring Bon Iver. Taylor Swift has grown up with my family and provided us a soundtrack, really, as we've grown ourselves and learned and adapted and dealt with adversity and celebration. She had songs for all of it. I suspect that's something that millions of Americans have also experienced in their families. I think that's because Taylor Swift produces great art, but also because she models something. At every stage of her career, she's shown a certain way of being that resonated with my kids and also felt right to me as a parent. And she's still doing that as a grown-up. Like a lot of you, I struggle with how to stand up to bullies without letting their meanness infect me and change me. You may have seen that the governor of California has been generating a lot of attention lately by posting on social media in a satirical way where he mocks Donald Trump and his all-caps megalomania and his absurdity. And I find it very funny, hilarious even sometimes. But I gotta be honest, it also leaves me with a strange feeling at times because I don't want us to become like Trump and his followers.
Alrighty, that's enough of that. So, anyway, let's go ahead and check out the lefties bitching about Donald Trump actually negotiating peace, right? Of course, that's the last thing that they want, right? Let's see. Mays Moore. Here's how Jake Tapper has covered Trump's meeting with Putin in 2018. Hey, Jake, it turns out Trump was right not to trust the intelligence assessment. You were just making a fool out of yourself. Apology coming soon. All right. So, of course, as you guys know, Donald Trump met with Vladimir Putin. What was it, on Monday? On Monday, I believe, up there in Alaska. Right. And of course, the mainstream media lost their mind, of course. Right. Oh, they're negotiating the terms of World War III. And, he's capitulating to Vladimir Putin. He's Putin's puppet. Everybody knows that he's Putin's puppet. But of course, obviously, that's not the case. Again, Donald Trump just wants to negotiate peace. That's what Donald Trump wants his legacy to be. He wants to be the person that brought peace to the world. Right. I don't think he necessarily wants to have the legacy that a lot of us were kind of hoping that he was going to have, where he's going to get in there and he's going to dismantle everything, man. And he's going to fucking release all the files to everything we've ever wanted. And everything was going to be great. And we're all of a sudden, we're going to know what the fuck our government's doing and what they've been doing for generations now. And I don't think Donald Trump wants that to be his legacy, as noble as it would be. I think Donald Trump just simply wants to be, again, like I said, the guy that negotiated peace in the world, and I think that's his ultimate goal. But either way, let's go ahead and check out Jake Tapper making an ass out of himself.
What can only be described as a stunning day in our world lead. A national security expert who has supported President Trump telling me Mr. Trump was, quote, played like a fiddle, calling the press conference an unmitigated disaster and embarrassing. The former CIA director John Brennan is calling today's performance by President Trump, quote, nothing short of treasonous, after the president of the United States stood side by side with Russian President Vladimir Putin, refusing to say who he believes when it comes to interfering in the 2016 U.S. election, U.S. intelligence agencies, or Vladimir Putin.
I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial.
President Trump apparently trusting the word of Vladimir Putin over the U.S. intelligence community, which concluded in a January 2017 report, quote, we assess Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. Why? Why does the President of the United States believe Vladimir Putin, former KGB officer, over officials in the United States of America? I want to go now to CNN senior White House correspondent Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, do White House officials realize how horrified so many Americans are today, Democrats, Republicans, independents, by the president seemingly siding with Putin against Americans on the question of an attack by Russia on the United States?
Fucking idiot, right? Absolute fucking idiot. So, of course, that was from back in 2018. And that's the whole Russia hoax, right? So let's go ahead and check these out real quick. Go ahead and just scroll up here to the top. All right, see what they got starting with. So DD Geopolitics. After his meeting with Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin laid flowers at the graves of Soviet pilots in Alaska. See, Bannon says, let's be real, Putin will only take one meeting, surrender. Europe is broke, gutless and out of men. This is a sick, demented, perverted joke. 625,000 Ukrainians dead or wounded in 2025 already, and the war grinds on. Let's see what they're talking about here.
I tell you what's going to take a meeting for, and they're going to say, oh, Bannon says, I'm not saying to surrender, but I'm telling you, give me the Europeans going to back these guys' play right now. The meeting that Putin will take is a surrender meeting. That's the meeting he'll take. I don't know if he's got a lot to talk about. The line of contact, which is the only important line here, give me a name, any name in Europe that's going to back up. The Poles, who are our best and only true ally over there, wouldn't even come over for the meeting. You know why? They're not part of the coalition of the willing because they understand the risk. The German press today said, they interviewed the defense minister, they said, oh, well, we took a battalion, we took a brigade or battalion, and we put them up in Latvia. We're tapped out. Okay, give me a break. Give me a break. This is a sick, demented, perverted joke. And anybody on the TV that just sits there and, oh, the great nations of Europe are coming together. They're broke. They're gutless. They're cowards. They have no money. They have no material. They have no weapons. They have no men, no personnel, nothing. They haven't stepped up for anything. And yet this fiasco goes on, and every day it goes on. I think President Trump said 5,000 Ukrainians died, which I couldn't get my head around that number until I saw 625,000 Ukrainians have either been killed or wounded in 2025, and we ain't to September yet.
Yeah, I highly doubt that that's the actual number. I'm pretty sure he's taking the total number of losses, which it could range around 625,000. But he's trying to make it seem like those people have been lost since January. Like, no, that's not necessarily the case. But either way, like I said, the whole goal here isn't necessarily, again, I highly doubt that Vladimir Putin is going to go pushing into Europe as soon as he's done with Ukraine. If we allow him to take these, couple regions, he's just going to push into further into Europe. He's going to start attacking NATO countries, things like that. Again, that's this whole boogeyman pipe dream that they've been living off of. Basically, they need their boogeyman. So of course everything needs to be, Russia this, or what have you. Every country needs their boogeyman, and so basically that's what they're going to try and continue to frame Russia as, right? So of course there was also the whole thing with Donald Trump basically saying that if this peace deal ends up being broken as part of the peace deal that they're negotiating, if this peace deal ends up being broken, that it would guarantee securities for Ukraine. And it's not necessarily based off of any sort of United States boots on the ground, anything like that. Again, these are all just promises. We'll see how it all ends up playing out. But nonetheless, it does seem like, of course, he's negotiating for Russia to take these parts that they've already basically taken and have basically have already identified themselves with Russia. And let's also keep in mind, these people are all ethnically the fucking same. Like, these people all come from the same fucking region of the world. Their ancestors are the fucking same. Like, these are the same fucking people, ultimately. So, I mean, I don't really give a shit one way or another. But nonetheless, it's a major event taking place in the world. It's been going on for about 3.5 years now, with apparently no end in sight, until of course Donald Trump comes around. And so again, if we're negotiating people to stop dying, even if it is temporary, again, nobody's expecting long lasting peace for forever and ever and ever. When have we ever had that in the world? Right? Treaties fall apart all the time. These peace deals, they fall apart all the time. Right? We see it. It's like 5 peace treaties fell apart just so this war could actually start. Right? So I mean, it's just something else that's going to continue to just kick the can further down the road. But again, if we could get some peace for at least a little while, if we can get this headache over with for at least a little while, that could be very, very helpful for us, especially financially, seeing as how much we've been giving to this fucking thing for, again, the last 3.5 fucking years. It's cost us billions and billions of dollars, and they're not fucking winning shit. Like, they're not winning shit. Let's see, Eric Daughtry, breaking: JD Vance reveals how President Trump called Putin at 1 a.m. after the European leader meeting. Shocking. All the leaders in the room. Who thought Trump meant he'd call Putin next week, not that same night? It was like, let's go ahead and check it out.
It was like 1 a.m. Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the east wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now. And I think one of the things I've realized about President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody. You had a lot of the Europeans who were saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare the phone call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to the guy. And I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. who knows what's going to happen? The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing. We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yep. That seems to be what we have in Donald Trump here.
A couple days ago on the internet of a bunch of elephants. Did you see the video a couple days ago on the internet of a bunch of elephants that were standing around? You see that?
Yeah, what did you?
It's a bunch of elephants standing around. They're standing around. You saw them?
What do you mean? It's fun, yeah. Video.
Okay. So they are standing around in a circle, okay, which is a shape in which they are all locking arms together to protect the most vulnerable elephant. Right? And
so glad Kamala didn't become president. So fucking glad. Bullet dodged. Of course, he didn't have a chance. She never had a chance in the fucking world. But nonetheless, bullet dodged there, you guys. All right, so let's see. Gunther Eagleman. Zelensky confirms that he needs Trump to be present at any meeting between Russia and Ukraine. We all know that Putin respects power and Trump has no problem wielding it. Trump is the key to peace. At least that's the way that it would seem. You know, that's definitely the way that it would seem. So let's go ahead and check this out. And be honest, like I said, I haven't been paying too much attention. So a lot of these things I'm actually seeing for the first time. I do listen to a lot of the stuff on podcasts and things like that. So I'm actually seeing a lot of this stuff for the first time. Let's check this out.
Yes, this is so important, and I'm happy that we discussed it, this track with the President Trump, and I hope that we will find decisions. And then what is very important, that all the sensitive things, territorial, etc., we will discuss on the level of leaders during trilateral meeting, and President Trump will try to organize such meeting, and he said that he will come or not come. I will be happy if you will participate.
Want me there, I will be there.
Yeah, thank you. And I think this is very important. Yes, so security guarantees, bringing kids back, and all our people, not only warriors, first of all warriors, and all the civilians, journalists, a lot of people in prison. So we need them back. And guarantees which will work for the years. We spoke about it, and I showed the President a lot of details on the battlefield, on the map. Thank you so much. Thank you for the map, by the way.
Good map.
It was great. Yeah.
Thank you for the
I'm
map.
thinking how to take it back.
We'll get you.
No. I think that we had constructive, specific meeting, and I'm very thankful to all the leaders who are here, and you help a lot, and so we are happy that we have such big unity today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much,
for hosting us.
Mr. President. I think you'll see that President Putin really would like to do something.
Yeah, change your tone a little bit there. Remember that meeting back in the day, both Donald Trump and J.D. Vance at the same time. Whoa, calm down. So, of course, the one thing that Gunther Eagleman does point out is that we all know that Putin respects power and Trump has no problem wielding it, right? So, of course, that does make me think about, in the future, what this means for future presidents. Because again, it's not necessarily just wield a big stick, things like that. It's not necessarily just we need to go bomb a bunch of people. It's the way that Donald Trump does things, right? It's his whole art of the deal thing. It works out great. Donald Trump is a well-respected man. He's been a well-respected man his whole life. But I mean, when it comes to the geopolitical stage, the dude is second to none. The dude is second to none when it comes to, negotiating peace, when it comes to, basically, like I said, commanding respect from other foreign leaders around the world, right? When it comes to the other foreign leaders, Donald Trump is not only the strong man, of course, physically he's a big dude, but at the same time, he's also just an imposing person with his mannerisms, with the way that he shakes your hand. He'll pull you in, he'll pull you to him, he'll slap you on the back. Yeah. That's who Donald Trump is, and like I say, that's his essence about him. So I do kind of wonder whenever he does end up getting out of office, how America, our next leader, whoever it's going to be, is going to end up carrying that. And we do see with JD Vance that he does kind of have that to him, where he's not going to take no shit. Because again, just like Donald Trump, he realizes how much power is behind that office right there of president of the United States. I mean, essentially, you do run the world in a sense. So it does make me kind of wonder, I say who's going to what's going to be the new norm when it comes to presidents of the United States. It does seem like it has been a campaign of appeasement and basically like you scratch our back, we'll print out money and send it to you guys as foreign aid type thing for quite some time. Or basically, any sort of, we've never seen a war that we didn't want to get involved in, or basically people that we didn't want to ship weapons to, whether doesn't matter which side they're on, we'll fund both sides of it, just so that way we could tax people and fucking replenish our weapon supplies. So yeah, again, it does seem like we do have a new norm that basically you need to be strong, you need to be assertive, and you need to be basically, like I say, America first. That's the name of the game, is America first. And like I say, Donald Trump just excretes that. He's got it in spades. And yeah, I think that's ultimately what we're going to be needing. What we're going to be needing, moving forward. So let's see. This is Presidents Putin and Trump laughing together after their meeting. Peace will be reached eventually. Body language says so. There's no sound to this one, but yeah, they do look like they're getting along quite a bit. And again, it's because they're world leaders that understand that that it's not about power. Power isn't about wielding power. It's basically about being the person that can wield it correctly, being the person that could wield it for the betterment and for the benefit of your people. That's basically what true power is about, right? And ultimately, what benefits people the most is the ability to fucking keep living. So this whole thing with all these endless wars, basically, America has been in its most war-ridden time period ever since the end of World War II, right? Ever since the end of World War II, we've been basically in a non-stop state of war, whether it be Cold War, whether it be hot war, whether it be proxy war, whether it be, just going in and fucking toppling foreign leaders, things like that, whether it's, funding, people, wars that have absolutely nothing to do with us. We've basically been in a constant state of war. We've, like I said, that's basically been the norm here in the United States for generations now. And yeah, it does seem like we are trying to move toward a state of basically where we're trying to not do that. We're trying to actually lead in the way that a good leader would lead, not necessarily the way that a basically just powerful, tyrannical leader would lead. And I think that's ultimately good for not just the United States, but everybody. I think that Donald Trump and Putin get that. And I think that they project that when through this meeting. Russian foreign minister. The probability of a meeting between Zelensky and Putin before the end of August is 0. In the future, the chances are also extremely small or completely absent. A summit between Putin and Zelensky is nothing more than Trump's fantasy. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with that. Let's see. Special Kherson cat. And of course, they got the Ukrainian flag in their bio. So, of course, that's the one thing that they don't want. Of course, they have the Ukrainian flag in their bio. Cat owner from Kherson. Here, I post mainly about ongoing war in Ukraine and situation in my hometown. Right? So, yeah, again, if they have the Ukrainian flag in their bio, what they want is never-ending war. They want never-ending fucking funding from the United States, basically. Right? Money drips in. People go into the meat grinder and fucking grind out, right? That's basically what they want to continue. They basically want the never-ending money supply, because of course we don't know where any of this money is going. And if you say anything about auditing where all the money has gone to Ukraine. Everybody's, oh, that's racism. I don't know how, but somehow that's racism, right? So yeah, you'd expect it's the response that you would expect. See, Jack Posobiec says CNN reported Trump was angry at Putin after the meeting. Does this seem angry? That's the same clip that we saw before. An unruly press had to be ushered out during President Putin and President Trump's meeting in Alaska. Putin rightly smirks at how ridiculous and unprofessional mainstream media is.
Just go up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, press. 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 Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you, press.
In my country, they would have been shot. We probably need some of that here in the United States, I'll be honest with you. Let's see, Donald Trump says, Eric Daughtry says, just President Trump slams the media for using John Bolton as an attack on his meeting with Putin, constantly quoting fired losers and really dumb people like John Bolton, who said that even though the meeting is on American soil, Putin has already won. All right. I don't care. Either way, like I say, Donald Trump, he's aiming for negotiating peace. All right. See, Zelensky says he's ready for bilateral meeting with Putin to end war. Right. Trump made this happen. Right. That's what's taking place. And of course, the mainstream media, they can't have that. That goes against their narrative. That goes against everything that they want you to believe in. So, they can't have that. That's got to be absolutely swept under the rug. No, he's just Putin's puppet. He's just trying to, get all of Ukraine over to Russia, so that way Russia and Putin could then move in on the rest of Europe and stuff like that, because Europe is absolutely defenseless and helpless, right? No, they're only defenseless and helpless when it comes to immigration and things like that. When it comes to actual, foreign conflict, I'm sure that they will be able to scrape the funds together to go ahead and buy some of these rockets and fucking, military armaments off the United States. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on over to this one real quick. Hey, where's my screen at? There we go. All right. So the New York City civil fine for Donald Trump has been dropped, basically. So let's see. A big win for Trump on an appeal in New York. $465 million. The civil fraud penalty in New York has been tossed by the New York State Court of Appeals. This was always a fake lie to just fake lie, just like jail him and keep him off the ballot. All right. Well, either way, Trump $500 million civil fraud penalty thrown out by appeals court. I'll go ahead and like that. You only got 20 likes. I don't know why, but either way, whether people hate or love Trump, this is a very powerful message. Oh, and the New York Court of Appeals court has just thrown out President Trump's $500+ million civil fraud penalty. No more lawfare. Never quit. Let's check this out. I'm pretty sure it's probably just some little inspirational thing, but let's check it out.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. And I've seen people quitting. And if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't whatever. One of the things about loving what you do is that it's not work, and therefore you don't quit automatically. It's a lot easier not to quit. But you can never give up. Now, you have to also have flexibility, though. You can't necessarily say, I'm never giving up, and you got to be able to weave and bob. You don't have to go through a concrete wall when you can go over it or around it or under it or something. You have to have flexibility. You have to always be able to change course a little bit, maybe always with that same goal, but don't quit.
Some wise words right there. Don't never quit. Don't y'all never quit. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Winning New York Appeals Court throws out fraud penalty. So, of course, let's see. The court dropped the fine, but left in place the finding of liability. One of the three judges believes that the case should not have been brought to begin with. Let's see. Pending Justice Renwick and I find that the Supreme Court correctly found defendants liable. We agree with Supreme Court that the Attorney General acted well within her lawful power in bringing this action and that she vindicated a public interest in doing so. We also find that the Supreme Court properly ruled only claims that are timely under the applicable statute of limitations. However, we would modify the remedy over this, ordered by the Supreme Court. While the injunctive relief ordered by the court is well crafted to curb defendants' business culture, the court's disgorgement order, which directs that defendants pay nearly $500 million to the state of New York, is an excessive fine that violates the Eighth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which is, of course, cruel and unusual punishment. That's they're not allowed to do that, right? They're not allowed to. Oh, you forgot to cross your T and you forgot to dot this I. That's going to be $500 million. Oh, you can't pay. Well, we'll take everything that you own. Yeah, they can't do that, and that's essentially what they tried to do here, right? So, like dominoes falling, another one for President Trump. New York Appeals Court drops and throws out the fines imposed. Go Donald J. Trump. Another POS. Letitia getting Ho James go down. Let's see. President Trump wins and defeats Attorney General Letitia James. The $464 million New York civil fraud penalty has officially been tossed out by an appeals court. Oh, let's see this person. A huge win. He won't have to pay $500 million in fines. The fine will be reduced. He's still going to have to pay 8 to 9 figures to the state of New York. So what? That's literally chump change to Donald Trump, right? It's again, he's not going to have to pay any of that because ultimately he's the president of the United fucking States. But either way, yes, it's they may bring it back up. Right, because again, they did still leave the liability part in there, but ultimately this could go all the way up to the Supreme Court before Donald Trump has to pay a fucking penny. Then once it gets to the Supreme Court, they're obviously going to look at it and say, "What the fuck is going on?" Because of course, as you liberals like to point out all the time, oh no, the Supreme Court is conservative leaning. Yeah, that's again, it's more just things for the headlines. That's all it is. It's for the headlines, right? Basically, it got part way through the appeals process on the way up to the Supreme Court because that's where it's headed to. It got part way through and has already had the fines basically thrown out, right? The ridiculous fines have been thrown out, right? Even if they do continue with the findings of so-called fraud, right, they are still basically burying themselves. Because of course, Letitia James is being investigated for the exact same thing right now. So even if Donald Trump does get, found liable for this so-called fraud, right, which again, as you guys know, we've gone through the facts, way back when this was all going down, it was basically Donald Trump never had anything necessarily to do with this. Basically, it's all, regular old fucking loan processes, which of course we, as soon as this took place, we saw every fucking big wig in New York basically ears perk up and wait, what? Huh? They're locking people up for that? Oh no, right? Because this is how business is conducted. This is how everybody does business, including Donald Trump. Right. And again, he's been a developer in New York for decades, right? For decades. So of course, he has, done the loan process. He's, put up buildings, as collateral. He's done this before, right? As have all of these people. So again, Donald Trump's was on the up and up, whereas Letitia James, on the other hand, is over here basically saying that, oh, she's married to her dad. And so therefore her primary residence is here, which she uses to get better favorable terms on taxes and things like that, and again on loans by claiming things as her primary residence. And then at the same time, her primary residence needs to be in this specific area where she is attorney general, right? Because it's kind of a whole part of the job. It's not like the Democrats, where you could be a representative from California, but you could live in Maryland, primarily, which again is it is illegal. You're not allowed to do that, but nonetheless, that's what takes place. So yeah, Letitia James, she's going down for this whole thing right now. She, basically she chose her shovel, and now Donald Trump is burying her with it. All right. President Trump's $464 million New York civil fraud penalty has been tossed out by an appeals court. He just defeated AG Letitia James. Are you happy with this? We'll go ahead and click A. Click A for big yes and B for no. I fucking hate people that do that shit. How does it feel to know that New York just vacated the $464 million fine? Trump doesn't have to pay a dime for their kangaroo court of injustice. All right? Yep, good fellas. Trump's New York case has been thrown out. This targeted lawfare miscarriage of justice violation of legal precedents and constitutional rights is out. No more 454. Dude, there's so many different numbers here. $454.2 million penalty. How many of y'all expected this to happen? Again, like I said, I'm pretty sure we all expected this to happen, because again, it was absolute bullshit. It's same thing, with every other court case that they've brought against Donald Trump. It's been absolute bullshit. And again, Donald Trump is basically burying them with the same shovels that they chose to try and bury Donald Trump with. The only difference is Donald Trump is now wielding it in the use of actual justice, whereas these people were wielding it in the use of a witch hunt. All right? Donald Trump winning. Too much winning, guys. Let's see, thrown out, another political witch hunt, crushed. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out what's going on with Cracker Barrel. Let's see what's going on with the old Cracker Barrel, because of course Cracker Barrel's in some hot water. Oh, actually, we could just go ahead and show you right here. All right. So of course there's the old Cracker Barrel logo there. Of course, they got that cracker and they got that old barrel right there, right? And then here's the new Cracker Barrel logo. All right, the home style dishes you love, made with care. Let's just dumb every fucking thing down, make everything as simple as it could possibly be, and I'm sure that'll go over great. All right. Let's see, Cracker Barrel. This is just sad. All right, so I guess I'll be honest with you guys. I've never really been to Cracker Barrel before. I don't think I've ever actually been to Cracker Barrel, to be honest with you. Right. So I'm assuming that this is probably the before picture. Again, their whole thing is basically come and, hang out, stay a while, stop by the gift shop, come in, have some food, hang out a little bit, you want us to refill your coffee, things like that. I'm sure it's supposed to have that down home vibe. That down home, kind of a American vibe to it, right? And of course, they got a Wokey. They got a Wokey in there, and now apparently it looks like this. It's like a Denny with like a fucking hockey stick and some tennis rackets on the wall, right? Absolutely ridiculous. Again, it's what have we learned from advertising? Don't let fucking woke people do your advertising for you. Don't let them fucking make decisions on what's going to be advertised, like we're seeing here. Don't let fucking weirdo wokies, advertise for you. You want to know how you advertise? Like this. This is how you advertise. Sydney Sweeney, giant tits, your logo right there. And then there you go. There's only one person on the planet that can save Cracker Barrel at this point. All right. That's basically the formula that we've discovered over this, death of wokeness time period, right? Dylan Mulvaney, bad, right? What you guys think is the thing, it's actually propaganda that they're trying to push onto our youth, right? It's not actually the thing. It's the thing that you're trying to make happen. But ultimately, it's not actually the thing, right? But yeah, if you want to save Cracker Barrel, this is the way that you do it. See, I'm boycotting Cracker Barrel until they change the logo back and fire the CEO. Again, I've never been a Cracker Barrel patron before, so I honestly wouldn't know. But yeah, you know, it's again just this ridiculous shift that's taking place in advertising, and this isn't necessarily going woke or anything like that. It could be if you consider they're taking off the guy sitting, you know, on the porch, you know, with the barrel and stuff like that. They're getting rid of that because you know, of course they got rid of all these, you know, black people, you know, the Aunt Jemimas, the Uncle Bens. You know, they got rid of all these, you know, logos and stuff like that. And, of course, so now that they have to go after the white person because they realize, like, oh, fuck, man, we just left the white people. Damn it. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe that's it going woker, but nonetheless, it's just going stupider. It's just dumb. You know, these people that think that they're so, you know, I'm so hip, you know, like I know what everybody in America's likes right now because I'm from Hollywood. You know, these people, you have to take them away from your advertising, you know. The James Pfaff says Cracker Barrel stock is suffering under a stupid DEI push. It started with the new CEO claiming the rebrand was overwhelmingly positive, but numbers don't lie. It was stupid moves because it represents an attack upon its customer base. All right, so again, yeah, it's a pretty steep decline.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and
Yeah, she looks like Katie Hobbs.
What?
Right, she looks like Katie Hobbs, man. That's how you know, like this is a bad choice. Yeah, this is a bad choice. She looks like she's probably related to Katie Hobbs. You know, you know the look, you know the fucking Karen ass look. You know, I don't know who thought this was a good choice, but not a great choice.
we bring them together and every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there. There's a lot of great changes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Robin?
Can I get in writing that the peg game is going to stay?
The peg game is staying.
Okay.
So are the rocking chairs,
And the
fireplace, vintage decor. It's all there.
All right. Okay, because that would be a deal breaker. That would be a deal breaker.
Honestly, the feedback.
Right, well, according to that video that we saw earlier, I mean that doesn't seem to be the case. According to this right here, yeah, that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case that they kept all the same stuff as before. All right, the Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Messino should face charges for this crime against humanity. Right, so apparently, like I said, this must be what Cracker Barrel. Look, they even got an old lady back there shopping. All right, that's how you know it's authentic. That's how you know it's legit. You know. But of course, they had to ruin it, right? They had to ruin it. And now again, we have the same authentic stuff. We just did it in a fucking modern art style, nailing it to the wall, right? Yeah, and absolutely ridiculous, man. Again, it's learn about what's been going on. You know, people are moving away from this wokeness. People are moving away from this form of Americanism. You know, people are moving back to actual American roots. You know, that's what people are moving back towards. People are moving back to again, like I say, fast cars, you know, fucking big titties and, you know, things like that. You know, America stuff. That's what is selling these days, right? Bring back the fucking fishing poles, bring back the fucking oars and, you know, the outboard motors and things like that, you know. Shit, make it regional if you want, you know, like do what you need to do, you know, but nonetheless, going to this fucking, you know, like modern style, like they got like rolling pins as like wall art, you know, like what the fuck is that? Now, what the hell is even that? Yeah, absolutely shameful. These people ought to be shot. We think Cracker Barrel rebrand sucks too. Yeah, that's the Democrats. I don't know what their deal is, but either way, see, you disappointed the entire country. Yeah, like I said, I've never really been to Cracker Barrel. Oh, right. the memes are great. The memes are always great. Old Cracker Barrel versus new Cracker Barrel. Let's see. What do all the failures of Bud Light, Cracker Barrel, and Star Wars have in common? Woke white women. Never put woke white women in charge of your company. Right. That's exactly what I was saying. Right. That's the lesson that we've learned here. Right. Never let fucking woke white women run your advertising. Right. I mean, I hate to say it, but they'd probably all just do better in HR. Just put them all in HR. Just getting you. Fucking A, dude. Don't give these people jobs. And stop giving these people jobs. These people don't need jobs. These people need a fucking stove and a husband and a fucking family. Right? That's all that they need. They need a nice kitchen to go chill inside. Call me misogynist, call you what you will, but nonetheless, these people are fucking destroying everything. Right? Again, correct, incorrect, correct. That's what Americans like. This is not what people like. This is not what anybody likes. I don't know who the fuck likes this. You weirdo fucking DEI fucking Antifa weirdos like this type of stuff because it makes you feel, oh, they're just like me. Like, no, dude, they're not just like you. You're just fucking special. You're just a little bit special. Right? But yeah, this stuff doesn't work. This stuff does. Fucking Cracker Barrel, dude. Like, it's so plain. We were contracted to remodel 500 Cracker Barrels over the next 5 years, and we just wrapped up with our first one. What do you guys think of the fresh model rebrand? I don't know if this is actually real, but nonetheless, it seems to be what it's looking like, right? Oh, we kept all the outdoors, stuff. Like, what the fuck is that? Oh man, absolutely ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous stuff, man. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap on up, get on out of here, man. I appreciate you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate all of you. Yeah, my voice is starting to go out a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up here. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Appreciate you all. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're not new here, yeah, appreciate you. Been here for quite some time because we've only had the same subscribers for the same amount of subscribers for like a year now. So yeah, if you're new, if you're not one of the original subscribers, go ahead and subscribe. If you are one of the originals, go ahead and bring some new people over. We appreciate you.